Ukrainian prisoners of war are beaten and raped in Russian captivity. Russian officer Konstantin Yefremov spoke about the abuse of the Ukrainian military in an interview with the Russian Air Force Service. He says that he watched the torture in April 2022, when Yefremov's unit allegedly guarded the rear headquarters in Kamenka, Zaporizhia region. The colonel was engaged in interrogations of captured Ukrainians there.
One day, 3 Ukrainian prisoners of war were brought here. One of them told he was a sniper. At these words, the colonel's eyes lit up. He beat him, put down his pants, asked if you were married. He replied that he was married. The colonel says, "Bring them up, now we will make a girl out of you and send a video to your wife." Konstantin Yefremov, Russian officer who fled abroad, in an interview with the BBC.
And this is far not only the case witnessed by Yefremov, who escaped from the Russian army. He said that the prisoners of war were kept in garage. The colonel forbade feeding the Ukrainian military. They were constantly threatened with execution.
He counted, then shot near the head, to the left or right of the head, shoot next to one ear, then to the other. He stunned one of the prisoners of war, and he didn't hear what questions the colonel was asking, and he started screaming. I say, "Comrade Colonel, he can't hear you. You stunned him." Then he tells me he is lying. These interrogations and torture continued for a week. Every day or night, sometimes twice a day. Konstantin Yefremov, Russian officer who fled abroad, in an interview with the BBC.
The Russians do not allow monitoring groups to see prisoners of war either in the temporarily occupied territories or in the Federation itself. No one knows exactly what condition the captured Ukrainians are in. Ukrainian Human Rights Commissioner Dmytro Lubinets says the real picture is formed by information about violence in captivity, which was repeatedly told by Ukrainians released from captivity and the Russian occupiers themselves. The ombudsman of either side does not name the number of prisoners so as not to harm the exchanges and repatriation.
We constantly record the facts of violations by the Russian Federation of the Geneva Convention, in particular the capture of Ukrainian soldiers, holding them in captivity, conditions, the provision of medical care. We also record violations in terms of the fact that Russia does not allow the Red Cross mission access to Ukrainian prisoners of war. I am not talking about the many proofs, videos, when the Russian invaders kill our prisoners of war.
The Kremlin and Russian propaganda spent a lot of effort to dehumanize Ukrainians in the eyes of their citizens, in fact attributing to the armed forces of Ukraine all the crimes and violations that they themselves commit.
Russian propaganda creates an excuse to incite strife between Russians and Ukrainians, so that Russians, like set dogs, torture Ukrainians and commit atrocities. Torture in general in Russia is an ordinary, natural process, because the Federation itself has a state which cannot exist without torture. Everyone is well aware of this. They torture everywhere in Russia, in places of deprivation of liberty, in prisons, in military units. A criminal will never highlight his crimes by nature.
There are thousands of civilians in Russian captivity, Dmytro Lubinets says. The Ukrainian ombudsman said he had received about 20,000 such requests from relatives and friends of captives. Where and in what conditions they are is unknown. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Yulia Bazborodko, UATV News.